I went through over 100 low ticket funnels and this is what I learned. My name is Vishal. I've done over 20 million plus in revenue personally for myself using low ticket offer and high ticket offer. And I've spent more than $10 million on paid ads, running ads to those low ticket offers. And in this video, I'm going to talk about what I have learned from looking at over 100 low ticket funnels. So let's jump right into my computer. So as you can see, I have ClickFunnels here. Let me refresh this screen and you will see that today we did $800. Yesterday we did 2,000, 4,000, 3,700, 2,700, 3,000, right? So we're making about 2 to 3K per day. And this is all by selling low ticket offer. As you can see, $26, $18, $26, $4, $47, $67, right? So we're selling low ticket offer and that's how we make money. And I'm going to teach you what are some of the things that I learned after seeing many low ticket funnels. And this is what I do every day, day to day. And this is how I make money. And this is how I have been making money for the past 7 years. And I've been doing this again for the past 7 years. And this is how I make money. So I also want to show you some of my low ticket funnels, some of the funnels that I have worked with as well in the past. So this is one of our beekeeping funnel. We teach people how to keep bees, right? How to have bees, how to make honey from the bees. So this is one of the product that we have. And you can scroll through this as you can see the page, and we're selling the guide for 99 cents. That is what we call a low ticket. I would say anything less than 27 or anything less than $97 is low ticket. We have a different product as well. And this one, again, as you can see, it has my name on it. And this is also another of our low ticket funnel. And this is something that I worked with in the past. His name is Andrew, and we're selling a $27 guitar course as well. And here, this is a piano course. His name is Youngmin. I used to work with him in the past, and he's selling a piano course. And Nico's MIDI pack, we sold it for $27. As you can see, for $27, Nico's MIDI pack, that is also a low ticket product. So this is some of the things that I've done. I've done a lot more. I have, like I said, done 20 million plus in revenue personally for myself and for my clients. And this is how I did by working and selling with low ticket funnels. So the biggest lesson that I learned is that market is greater than offer. Offer is greater than messaging. So what do I mean by that? What do I mean by market is greater than offer and offer is greater than messaging, right? So market is, let's say, relationship niche, right? Market is being in a finance niche. Market is being in a music industry. Market is being in a personal development niche, right? The industry that you're in is basically what a market is. And most of the time what I've seen is that what market you're in matters more than what you're selling. It doesn't matter if you're selling a piano course. It doesn't matter if you're selling a guitar course. It doesn't matter what you're selling. What market you're selling to matters the most. What I mean by that is that people are more likely to pay more for finance courses than they're going to pay for relationship. For example, if I tell you, hey, I'm going to help you make 10,000 a month using AI, okay? And I'm charging 5K. Most people will pay for that because you're going to be making $10,000 a month and I'm only charging you $5,000. And they can justify that because next month they're going to make $10,000. So it's something that people can justify. But in relationship, what if I say, hey, I'm going to help you get your spouse, get your husband, get your wife, and I'm going to charge you $5,000. See, it's hard to justify. Is getting a spouse worth $5,000? I don't know. You may be wondering, hey, why don't I just network myself? Why don't I just go to Tinder and different platform and do it myself? Like, why do I need to pay you $5,000? How do you justify it is worth $5,000, right? So many times what industry, what niche you're in matters the most because that defines how much they are willing to pay. In finance in general, people can pay more. But in other industries, like let's say hobby, right? Music is a hobby and people necessarily don't have a lot of money. And if they don't have a lot of money and it's just a hobby, it's not the main thing, right? So if there is an economic downturn, if there is a hard time, what do? They don't spend money on a hobby. Like they would spend the money on the things that they need. They're not going to spend the money on the hobby, which means, again, you're not going to make that much money. So you have to be careful what market you're in first, because that determines how much money and how long you're going to make the money as well. So after you know what market you're going to be in, then now you can look into offer, what offer you can do in that market. And typically you want to find offer that is new, that is sexy, that is different, that is something that the market hasn't seen before. If you're doing same as everybody, then you're pretty much going to expect same results as everybody. But you need to have something new, something different, something unique, something that makes it different than the other people that you're doing. Then you're going to have something that works. Then that is basically an offer. Now, messaging is just a copy. It's the way you structure. For example, the sales letter you see, the text, this is basically the messaging, how you position the offer. For example, here we say, here is why 93% of new beekeepers fail in the first year. What this means is that we're going after people who are trying to do beekeeping, but they're struggling. That's the audience. That's the messaging we have. We could also have said, right, hey, are you struggling to start beekeeping? Then that would attract brand new people. That will attract people who have never done beekeeping and they're thinking about doing it. It's a simple way of doing beekeeping. That is attracting people who have never done beekeeping. And those two are two different audiences. They're not the same. Now we could also have a different messaging that is like, hey, how to maximize the honey production from your beehive. Now that is for people who are already doing beekeeping. They're already making honey and they want to do better. So those are a different audience. And that's messaging. And you can test that, but messaging is not the most important thing. What's important is the offer. And after that is the market. So as as long as you're in a good market, as long as you have a good offer, you can try different messaging. If market and offer are there, then the messaging is most likely going to work. The second thing that I learned is that make the big change, not the small details. Now, yes, there is time to focus on small details, but making big changes actually gives you bigger results. Here's what I mean by that. This is one of our funnel. Instead of doing split test on headline, the best thing to do would be to try different messaging. Like just have 3 different sales pages with 3 different messages. That would be the good thing to do. But many people, what they do is that they just test different headline, they test different images, they test different colors of button. Those are small details. You're focusing on small details. You want to test big things. You want to try testing like a whole new thing. Like maybe try a brand new cover for the book, right? Maybe like just you are going after the same messaging, but try writing in a different way. Like try have a different, completely different hook. So you want to test big thing, not small things. And here's why. When you test big things, it only needs a small amount of data. Like if I have a brand new sales page, then I only need, let's say, 500 people to know that, okay, this is working and this is not working. But if I'm testing 2 different headlines, then I may need actually 10,000 people to go through that page to know if it's actually making a difference or not. It's because when the change you have is just small, it's hard to know, because this week, one of the variation might do better, but the next week, a different variation might do better. It is going to be hard to tell when the changes are small. What you want to focus is you want to focus on big changes. And some of the big changes are, of course, like different messaging. That is a big change. You want to try a new price, right? For example, we're selling here for 99 cents. Try selling for $4, try selling for $27. So those are some of the big changes. You can also try completely new name as well. For example, we're calling this the Backyard Beekeeping Blueprint. You can give it a new name. Beekeeping for beginners, beekeeping for dummies, right? You can give the book a different name. You can have a different design, because that will have a different vibe. If you see 2 different books, it has a different feeling basically. So those are big changes. You want to have big changes. You want to try big changes. Doing small changes takes a lot of time, and also you're wasting the time. Like you could be testing big things. Like big things give you big results. Instead of focusing on small little details, it is always better to focus on big things, like big things that move the needles. And that's always the best thing to do. And I feel like when I work with my clients, even with my offer, we focus too much in the details. And to be honest, I feel like we wasted too much time on that. We could have just like be making bigger changes, making this new messaging, trying different book, trying different name, trying different price point, and testing that. And that would have a better results than trying to like change the color of the button or trying to change the font, right? Hey, which font does the better, right? That is just like too much detail. And many people don't actually care about the detail. They just care about the big things. They just see the headline, they see the book, and they like it, and they're just gonna buy, right? If the price is right, they're gonna buy. So focus on the big things, not the small things. So the next lesson is that to separate the front end and the back end. What do I mean by front end and the back end? So front end is a low ticket funnel, right? Which is what we're talking about. So low ticket funnel, you're selling for $50, you're selling for $27, right? That's a low ticket funnel. But a back end is something you may charge $5,000, $10,000, $25,000, right? You want to separate the front end and the back end. What do I mean by that? Basically, you want your business, you want your offer, you want your company to be 2 separate things. You want the front end engine, you want the back end engine. You want the front end engine to sustain itself, and you want the back end engine to sustain itself. So front end has ad spend. That's the biggest thing the front end has. And it has a marketing team. That's the biggest thing it has. But the back end has coaches to fulfill those $5,000, $25,000 packages. So the front end should make enough money to cover the ad spend and as well as to pay for the marketing team. And back end should make enough money to pay for the coaches and have more profit. And typically what's going to happen is that you're probably going to break even on the front end and you're going to have tons of profit in the back end. So my lesson is that when I was working with a client, when they had the front end and the back end the same thing, they were trying to basically use the back end to be profitable from the front end, which is a good thing. But many times people are not giving their all in the front end. They're not doing everything they can in the front end to be profitable. And they're just like, oh, I know we're going to make money with the back end, so don't worry about it. It's fine. They're just like relaxed. So they're not worrying about it. But many times, if the ROAS, if the profitability in the front end is low, it's going to impact the profitability of the company and of the back end. And that is going to impact how long you're going to stay in the business. Okay. So you have to make sure you're profitable in the front end. And because you're profitable in the front end or you're breaking even in the front end, you can keep the front end going and you can get the customer and you can convert those customer in the back end. And anything that happens in the back end, most of that is going to be profit. And that's how you can sustain the company. I know many people, even for myself as well, and other people that I know, they had a good offer, they had a good business, but they did not care about the front end as much and they were focused on the back end. But the problem is that the front end is the one that makes the money. See, the back end does not bring the customer. The customer comes from the front end. The customer comes from the low ticket offer. And if the low ticket offer stops making money, you don't have any back end. You don't have any customers in the back end, right? So you have to focus on the front end. And many people, they start with the front end. They start something with the front end. The front end starts working and then they focus on the back end and back end starts making more profit. And we want to focus where the profit is. And that's in the back end. So we focus and double down on the back end because that's what makes us the profit. But you also have to realize realize that the profit in the back end comes from the front end, and they stop focusing on the front end, and eventually the front end stops working, and then the back end, the profit goes away as well. So you have to be very careful to separate the front end and the back end, and make sure the front end is its own thing and back end is its own thing. And as long as they're separate and they're making money, you're going to have a good business and you're going to last longer. You're going to be on the business longer, and that is going to allow you to be more profitable as well. And without profit, you don't have a business. So that is very, very important. So the next lesson is focus on expanding more of the same and new ways. So what do I mean by that? If you have something that's working, what people typically do is that, oh, I know how to launch a low ticket funnel. Let's do in something new industry. Like, let's try this new thing. Oh, I know how to do a beekeeping thing. Oh, now let's do a piano course. Let's do a guitar course. Let's do some other thing. People want to go try new thing. That is wrong. What you want to do is that you want to do more of the same. You want to double down, basically. If you have a book, the Backyard Beekeeping Blueprint book, it's working. If it is working, then why don't you just create another book with a different name? Just call it Beekeeping for Dummies and have a new sales page with a new messaging, with a new hook. And that book looks completely different, but it is going after the same market. Okay. It is similar offer, but it's going after the same market. What you want to do is you want to double down on the market and you want to maximize what's working. The thing is that finding an offer that makes money is very, very difficult. Okay. Not everybody can make this work. This is a challenge. And when you have something working, you want to focus on that, not focus on something else. If you have something that's making money, if you have a golden goose that's making you money, why focus on something else? Focus on what's making the money and double down on it. Okay. So if we have this book, the SaaS to Profit Playbook, working and that's making money, then why don't I launch a different book with a different name, but does the same thing? How about Software as a Science? How about something else that does the same thing with just a different name? And I can be the author as well. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it can be whoever, but the funnel looks completely different. We have completely different testimonial. It has a completely different hook, but it's going after the same market. And that is the way to double down. So you want to do more of the same. So when I had my offer working, I thought I was genius. And I was like, oh, I know how to do this. I can do this in any industry. So I started launching offer in different industry, in real estate industry, in finance industry, in relationship industry, in guitar industry. I had a whole bunch of different offers. The thing is that none of them worked. Okay. I wasted a lot of time launching offers in different industry that did not work. What worked was the offer that I had, which was already working. I should have doubled down on the offer that was working instead of trying to create new offers in new industry. You don't want to do that. You want to focus on the offer that's already working. The other thing is that if this book is working, you don't know when it's going to stop working, right? It may just stop tomorrow. So you want to have 3 or 4 different funnels bringing the customer to the back end. So if you only have one, it can stop anytime. But if you have 3, then you have 3 funnels. So if anything happens to one funnel, you still have 2 funnels that's making you money. So you have a good, stable business, and you have a back end, you have a system, you have coaches, and it works. So you want to have, again, multiple of the same, and you want to expand that way. You want to expand on the same market. Once you find the market that makes money, once you have the offer that makes money, then all you want to do is try different messaging with a similar offer. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I made, because if I had just focused on the more of the same, I would probably have made more money, to be honest. I'll probably have made more like 10 million plus in my bank account today. So the last lesson that I have from looking at over 100 low ticket funnel is testing different ad platforms. So when I start, I typically just start with Facebook. Why? Because that's what I'm good at. I was a Facebook ads media buyer. That's what I did. That was my full-time job back in the days 4 or 5 years ago. So that's just what I know. But I know that there are people who are good at YouTube. There are people who are good at TikTok. There are people who are good at Twitter. There are people who are good at LinkedIn ads. So if you have something working, like I said, finding a thing that makes money is already a difficult thing. And if you have something that's working, let's say for Facebook ads, what you want to do is you want to double down into different ad platform. You want to find a YouTube media buyer and you want to have him run ads on YouTube. You want to find somebody for LinkedIn. You want to find someone for TikTok. You want to go wherever your customers are. If your customers are in Twitter, then go to Twitter. If your customers are in Reddit, then go to Reddit. It's wherever your customers are. And more likely, if it worked for you in one platform, it is more likely going to work in other platform as well, because the problem remains the same. It's just about reaching those people. It's just about getting in front of them. And once you get in front of them and you already have a system, you already have a funnel that works, it is more likely going to work as well. Now, every platform has different things. Let's say for YouTube ads, right? You need to make a long form video. That requires a different level of skills. Let's say for TikTok, you need to make a short form videos. That requires a different level of skills. So yes, there is going to be a learning curve, but once you go through that hump, you're going to have multiple ad platforms that's going to be making you money. And it is very common to have Facebook shut your account down. It is very common to have TikTok shut your account down. So when that happens, if Facebook decides to shut down your account, you still have YouTube, you still have TikTok, you still have other platforms that's making money. So you're not dependent on just one platform. As a business owner, you want to minimize the risks. And the way to minimize the risks is to spread the risks. When you spread the risks across different platforms, across different offers, you become more stable. So even if anything happens to one place, it's not going to affect the whole business. And you're still going to be in business, you're still going to be making money, and you're still going to be profitable. So like I said, I'm good at Facebook ads, and that's what I did for my first offer. but quickly I launched YouTube ads, and YouTube ads were really, really good for my last company. And that was fantastic. And that brought us a good amount of profit. And I know they're still doing that. And even today as well, some of the offers that you see that I have, as soon as we have something that works on Facebook, we're like immediately looking into what other platform we can run ads in. And typically the second platform that we try is Google and YouTube. So that is what I learned from looking at over 100 low ticket funnels. And I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you on the next video.